The Utah Mammoth is sorta proud to present Nashcast.
What the is a Nashcast?
Nashcast, the only hockey show on the planet. Hosted by a human speed bag, fourth line wannabe, healthy scratch, Schnazzy Moto, Tyson Nash.
Who the hell is Tyson Nash?
Never heard of him.
And the baritone with a brain, the Velvet Hammer, Mr. Silky, Tono Suave, the radio voice of your Utah Mammoth,
Code Blue!
Mike Folta.
Oh, Captain, my Captain!
Nashcast begins now.
Ready for takeoff.
Here's Tyler Ganoush and Mickey Foghorn. Wait, what? Oh, here's Tyson Nash and Mike Folta.
Feeling good, Fultz, holy. I don't know where you are, buddy, but you are looking good. Look at the shades, holy. How come mine, when I put mine on, they always come with a fake nose and mustache, though? I don't know what happens with that, but look at you, incognito, eh? With that Speedo, I'd be wearing those too. Holy.
So, Nasher, like, have you been following along with the weather and stuff? Because you're what, in AZ right now? Did you even register with the giant storms that hit half the continent? Because we were trying like crazy to get out of Nashville. We almost got stuck in Nashville, and big snowstorm hits half the country. Nashville doesn't have any snowplows or salt, and so we're stuck in Music City, and all the honky tonks are closed, right? So it's not like there's any partying to be had if we do get stuck. They moved the game up 2 hours earlier last week so that we can get out of Dodge. And we're sitting on the tarmac for like 45 minutes to an hour. All I'm thinking is, if I lose out on a day in Tampa Bay because we're stuck in frozen Nashville, I am going to lose it. But we got out of there, and the road trip continues, my man. And the Mammoth have been red hot.
Have they ever? Are you kidding me? And let's be honest, there's worse places to get stuck than Nashville. I can tell you that. But you're right. If Tootsie's is closed, I mean, right. Wannabes also. I don't know if Matt McConnell's taking you to Wannabes yet, but I put a clinic on, an absolute clinic on in Wannabes. The name says it all. But you want to talk about karaoke night? I brought the house down in Nashville one night, well, a few nights, but I always have a ton of fun in Nashville. But I always have. What's that?
What are you singing?
Oh, I sing it all, buddy. I'm a Swiss Army knife when it comes to the mic. You know that. I mean, there's nothing I can't sing, just as long as the notes aren't too high. But
right.
It was a good night. Matt McConnell actually bought a round that night too. I'll never forget it because it's the first time in I think me and Matt McConnell, 994 games we called together, and he's picked up one tab, and it was in Nashville. So I can always remember that.
Send that receipt to the Smithsonian right there. Are you doing like the basics? Are you doing Friends in Low Places, stuff like that, or are you going off the more beaten trail with your music choice?
Well, I mean, Wagon Wheel's kind of my, that's my go-to. That's my go-to.
That's a fastball right down the middle.
Yeah, that's on a tee. I mean, it's Sweet Caroline. That's another one. I mean, but everyone sings along, right? So you need a song. You just have to have one karaoke song that you've mastered. And the bar, right. Everyone was singing. The bartenders were into it. The cocktails were flowing. We were hydrating, making sure our voices were ready for the next night. That's the one thing I miss, Fultz. The road, now that I'm off it a little bit, it's kind of giving my liver a little bit of a break, but I miss the Nashvilles, the Tampas, the Floridas, all of it, right? This getting some sunshine, the ocean. And then obviously when you're calling games for the Utah Mammoth right now, how much fun are you guys having? I mean, every night you're in a playoff picture. First of all, you're in the conversation, and more than that, you're the talk. And I travel around a ton for Amazon, NHL Network, and everybody is asking me about this team. If they're for real, they like what they're seeing. So it's exciting right now to be a Utah Mammoth fan. I can tell you that this team has turned the corner, and they are getting a ton of respect around the National.
Mammoth currently sitting in that top wild card spot as we record this right now, early in the week. But you were talking about it's exciting. Nothing more exciting than last weekend's win over the Philadelphia Flyers, Tyson, when the Utah Mammoth are down 3-0 in the game. They come back. Clayton Keller ties it with 34 seconds left in the third period. And then he scores on the setup from Dylan Gunther to make it 5-4, a win in overtime. Have you, obviously we've seen great performances in this league, yada, yada, but can you remember a game where a player took over a game late the way that Clayton Keller does? Because that's something you see in basketball, right? Steph Curry just starts launching. LeBron James will just take it himself. You can't really see it in hockey. It's a team sport. But Clayton Keller took over the game against the Flyers in that thriller.
And Fultz, I know we touched on this on your podcast earlier. Mammoth Daily, for everyone who's listening right now, make sure you give that a listen. You're a Utah Mammoth fan. You guys are hitting everything right now. It's a great pod. I absolutely love it. That's where I get my Utah Mammoth news, the stats, the current situation the team is in always. So thank you guys for that. But listen, I've been watching Clayton Keller for a long time, and he's had those type of games. He really has. He puts the team on his back, gets a hat trick, gets the game-winning goal. So he's made for those big moments. But the biggest thing for me is that this is a team that is in the playoff fight, right? They're in the playoff picture right now. So that win the other night and that play by Nick Schmaltz, I'm just telling you, that was one of the best plays that I've seen in a long, long time. This is a guy, I don't know who it was, but he had a wide open, yawning cage, and he gets his pocket picked at the last second, and they go back the other way and score, right? That can be a franchise-changing win for the Utah Mammoth, because when Clayton Keller has had those games, the team's been out of the playoffs. They're playing for nothing, right? Right now, they're playing for everything. And teams now coming into Utah or facing Utah in their own barns, they are ready for this team. It's not, let's start our backup goalie because it's the Utah Mammoth or the Arizona Coyotes coming in. No. That's now out the window. The Utah Mammoth is getting the other team's very best every night because they're a threat. They are a legitimate team. And I'll tell you what, that game, that effort, and if they can continue this hot streak that they're on right into the playoff picture, because again, I'm following teams around the league with the Amazon, right? And you see teams up and down. Utah is going to go through a down point. But when you're riding that wave, you just keep riding it, right? And you keep gobbling up points, and that's what Utah's doing right now.
Yeah, it was Garnet Hathaway of the Flyers who's going to be seeing Nick Schmaltz in his nightmares. But you said it, wide open net. Have you ever had one of those, Tyson, where you're like, because you were a depth player too, right? Like Hathaway's a bottom six forward. The guy had one goal all year, and he has a chance to get an empty netter, right? Put a crooked number up there in the goal column. All he has to do is walk it in, basically. and Schmaltz just hawks him down. Like, did that ever happen to you where you're like, how did I not score right there?
Yeah, you know what? Those are situations like you're just licking your chops, right? And how he wasn't aware, or how one of his teammates, they weren't yelling at him from the bench that Schmaltz was right up his grill, right? And I mean that I'm sure he hasn't lived it down since then. And the worst part for Philly is they ended up losing the game, right? On top of it all, on top of it all. So I feel bad for him because, we've all kind of been in those situations. The worst one I think I can ever remember was Alex Hemsky when he played. I think he played for the maybe it wasn't him. I can't remember. It was a Dallas Star that was coming down, and he was going to put it in the wide open net. And I think he hit the post or he fanned on it, and Edmonton went right back down the other way and scored and won the game. That was one of the worst ones I've ever seen. You got to YouTube it, I'm sure, but certainly one that he's not going to live down anytime soon.
What about is it Patrick Stefan who missed the empty net? Like, I just YouTubed it because there's one specifically in my head. It's 2007. Dallas Edmonton. Dallas is leading, it looks like, and Yeah. Okay. It leads directly to an Oilers goal. Oilers go like right down and score.
It's the
This is the
worst.
one
It's the worst one. Yes, Patrick Stepan. Thank you again. You're
Yeah.
babysitting me, Foltz. Thank you for that.
Was that wasn't playoffs, was it?
You know what? I think it was like there was massive ramifications for that loss. Regardless, it was a big one,
Yeah.
and it stung. I know that for 1,000% certainty. But yeah, those are crazy moments, right? Where you're just like, how can that happen? This is the National Hockey League. It's not the East Coast. It's not the American League. It's literally the National Hockey League.
I think it was Hemsky who scored it. Who scored to he scored the goal. So you were thinking of the same play, but you get partial credit there. Like
story of my career, Foltz. I was half right.
Yes, that's right. But Utah on a roll right now. It's the best stretch of hockey this team has played ever since they got to Utah with, as we record this, points in 9 straight. Really tough road trip here where you're playing the defending Stanley Cup champs and two teams at the top of their divisions in Tampa Bay and then Carolina to finish off the road trip. But the Mammoth have put themselves in a really good spot, and they've done that without one of their most exciting players, Logan Cooley. He's been out ever since December due to injury. Tyson, I saw him with my own eyes, proof of life. He made the trip with the team, and he skated. I wouldn't say he skated with the team, but he was on the ice at the same time the team was in the non-contact jersey, just kind of going through some solitary drills and stuff. But he's been in team meetings. He's been a part of the he's been in the room with the guys and stuff like that. They're trying to acclimate him to get ready to come back. We expect right after the Olympic break.
Yeah, and that is such huge news. And when you talk about the Mammoth and all they've done, Foltz, they've done it for the most part without Logan Cooley. I mean, that's the most impressive part of it all, right? Kerfoot, at times, who's been in and out of the lineup. I mean, they've had significant injuries this year. So wait till those guys come back into the lineup, as you just touched on. Hopefully after the Olympic break, Cooley's ready to rock and roll. And it's important for him, and no one feels better than Cooley right now, just being back on the ice. I've been there, done that. It's an awful feeling, especially when the team is winning. You want to be a part of it, right? You want to be putting up points, especially for a guy like Cooley, just signing that big contract. He's a massive part of this team moving forward. We all know that. But wait till he comes back. That's going to be like the biggest shot in the arm. It's going to be like a massive trade for Bill Armstrong, right? Yeah. Except they're getting their young stud back. So it can't happen quick enough. Health is a big thing. If you can stay healthy, it gives you obviously a way better chance to make the playoffs. And that's all we're talking about right now, right? Clayton Keller talked about it at the start of the year. I'm not sure Bill Armstrong was ready to hear that, right? Or Andre Tourney, because I don't think they knew what really to expect this year out of this group. But what they've done, and to put that out there by the captain, Clayton Keller, he's like, no, we're talking about playoffs now. No player wants to be on a team that's rebuilding. They're done with it. It's over. This team now, the pressure is on, the clock's ticking, and they're going to be a playoff team because they're a young group, right? A lot like the Montreal Canadiens. This team is going to be so good once they can really, really figure it out and believe in themselves, that they're going to be good for a long, long time.
And that's what Bill has always preached, not just success, but sustained success in building for the future. But we should mention our guest here on this show today, Mike Rupp, your old teammate, Tyson, from back in your NHL days. Now he works with NHL Network, so you guys are both players turned NHL media heads. But a great chat with Mike Rupp that we'll get to right here on Nashcast.
All right, here we go. Do we got a barn burner for you? We now have Mike Rupp, 6'5", Mike Rupp, 243 pounds from Cleveland, Ohio, 11 years in the National Hockey League, almost 900 penalty minutes in 610 games. He was drafted once, 1998 in the first round. He was drafted a second time in 2000, 76th overall to this New Jersey Devil team. Rupper, my brother, welcome to the show, my man. I know it's late out there on the East Coast. How we doing?
What's up, Nasher? It's all good, man. I'm glad to hop on here with you, and yeah.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you, buddy. And my favorite part, first of all, I played with you. I thought you were Canadian all these years. I had no idea you're from Cleveland, Ohio. How the hell did you get into hockey? That's a baseball town. That's not a hockey town. How did you get laced up with your first pair of skates, buddy?
It's funny because a lot of my buddies, when I come back from playing in the Ontario Hockey League, thought I was from Canada too. You get the little accent, you pick up a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But yeah, you know what? Growing up in Cleveland, Ohio, there wasn't much hockey being played. I was actually the only kid in my entire elementary school that played. And what I had a neighbor that was a couple doors down that played hockey, and he was older than I was. And I probably annoyed the hell out of him. Would just kind of migrate over there and watch him. He'd be shooting tennis balls against his garage, and I didn't know what this sport was. I just started watching him do it. His name was Eddie. He was nice enough. Like I just started playing over there with the neighborhood kids, and I told my mom I wanted to play, and yeah, signed me up. And it's grown a lot, hockey in Ohio and in Cleveland in particular, but. I think I really liked it because I enjoyed playing all sports, and I was always a big kid. So things kind of came a little bit natural for me, probably in physical sports, as far as, getting body position and stuff, because I was bigger than everybody else. And I think I liked that because I was good at it and no one else did it. So it kind of felt like it was my thing, man. So yeah, like I was the only one doing it. My parents knew nothing about it. So it kind of just felt like my special thing. And that's kind of why I stuck with it.
Kind of nice. I guess you didn't get those backseat car rides home from your parents when you sucked that day, or you didn't work hard like I did my entire life. But Rupper, who did you grow up like watching then? Like, I know the hockey wasn't huge. Did they have an American League team? Did they have an East Coast League team? Who did you watch? And when did you know, like, hey, maybe I'm pretty darn good at this?
Yeah. So I basically, back then you didn't have access like this. Like, how sick is this that we're able to do this right now? And, even the fact that I'm watching a Utah Mammoth game tonight, like it used to not be like that. And I mean, I'm 45 now, so you're talking 80s, early 90s. You just didn't have that type of access to hockey. So the headlining teams is the teams that I would root for, that you'd see or at least have limited views of, and that was the Edmonton Oilers. So I grew up being a big Wayne Gretzky guy. I was a Wayne guy. I loved Mess. I loved all those great Oiler teams. And I guess locally there was the IHL team, the Cleveland Lumberjacks. And so I'd go to Cleveland Lumberjack games all the time. And I remember right around when I was like 15, so I'll bring it around to how I kind of knew I had an opportunity to do something. I had right around 15, 16, I was skating with like the Lumberjacks, kind of getting ready for my season, and I was just playing some junior hockey, not the OHL at that time, in high school hockey in Ohio. And my coach used to play in the WHA. He was a goaltender back in the day, and he was my high school coach. His name is Bob Whidden in Ohio, and he had some access to help me get out there with the Cleveland Lumberjacks. And I remember thinking to myself, I remember coming home telling my parents, like, man, I want to play for the Lumberjacks. Like, that was the ultimate goal for me, right? It was just playing for that hometown team, and it was kind of neat. Then I remember playing high school hockey, and then I got to a point in my life where I kind of needed to get away from playing high school hockey in Ohio. And I had that coach, Bob, was the one that said, hey, we got to get you out here and seeing different things. So I went on like college visits, OHL visits, as far as looking at what that league was like. And he had a connection from his WHA days to Bobby Orr. And Bobby Orr had the agency. And it was, he just basically, I had a game one day, and Bobby Orr flew in to watch me play in Ohio, and was kind of big news.
Not a big
in
deal.
Ohio. Yeah, so Bobby Orr came in to watch my high school game, and it was on like the local news and everything, and it kind of blew up on the local part of it because Bobby Orr, what's he doing in town? So that's kind of when I knew that, and I guess my parents knew I had an opportunity, because the great Bobby Orr was in town, and I ended up signing on with that agency with him, and I just got drafted to the Ontario Hockey League and kind of went from there.
Rupper, I mean, every kid's dream. right? Especially, obviously, coming from Cleveland. But you get drafted, not once, but you get drafted twice. I mean, I love this part of the show, doing the research and learning. I had no clue. Like, you were in the first round, 9th overall to the Islanders? And what happened?
Yeah.
And then you went back in the draft. Obviously, you didn't sign, and then the Devils obviously scoop you up at 76th. So you got drafted twice, both times ahead of me, and a million miles ahead of me.
Yeah, Nasher, you said what happened because you saw that you played with me, and you're like, you went 9th overall, bud. What happened? No, it was.
No.
I think that was all part of it, right? Like, so there was a lot of unknown with me. I was 6'5", 2, probably 20 when I was, 15.
Oh.
You know, I was a big kid. So I was a point getter back then, and I played 1 year of. I got drafted 1 year removed from that high school hockey that I was talking about. So when Bobby Orr and I signed on with the agency, go to the OHL, I played one season in the OHL, and that was my draft year, 1998. And that's why I went 9th overall. So I was kind of a projected late round, first round pick, maybe early second round. The New York Islanders took a big chance on me at 9th. I think on the what if, right? I just kind of looking. I think they had, in years around that draft, they had quite a few first round picks, and I thought they took a chance on me there. I had 2 years to sign with them, and it ended up kind of not coming to an agreement on a contract, so I had to go back into the draft, and that's where the Devils drafted me for the second time. So it was kind of a nerve-wracking experience because you know that you're probably not going to get drafted as high as you were before, but at the same rate, man, I don't regret anything because I got an opportunity to be a part of an organization in New Jersey that was, I was green, man. I had to play in the minors, and this was an organization that took their time with me, and then I got an opportunity to ultimately make it to the NHL with them.
Rupper, again, your journey, it's an incredible one, right? And I think we all have similar stories unless you're a Scott Niedermayer type player, right? But I mean, just the fact that you bounced around. I mean, you got drafted,
Yeah.
twice. You're in Albany, then you're in New Jersey, and then you're back down to Albany, then you're off to Phoenix, and then you're in Danbury, then you're back in Phoenix again, then Columbus and Syracuse. And I mean, your journey, is literally the definition of adversity and determination. But how did you kind of stick with it all those years? Because I know getting sent down to the minors after being in the National Hockey League, that's not the direction you want to go.
No, but Nasher, you see it all the time now in the NHL. It's still a thing now, and it might not be as prevalent now because I don't feel like there's as I guess there's not as much versatility and definition in what your role is. And now it's more of a skill game now. So you have to have a certain level of obvious skill that you always had to have to play in the NHL, but like you don't have like specialty roles. So I guess the point is that I got to a point where, like I said, I was a point getter, and then I realized at that level or just pro hockey, I just wasn't going to get points that consistently. So I had to make changes to my game. And so you started kind of like looking around. I had great coaches work with me. And I think the first and obvious thing is you're big, so let's use that a little bit more to your advantage. So I used it for my advantage to like protecting pucks for the offensive purposes. But now it was like, hey, let's open our eyes a little bit more to trying to be more intimidating out there on the ice and just finishing checks. And that's what it was starting with. I started hitting a lot more in the physical game, and that comes with having to drop your gloves and fight, and those things I had to work at, and I did over the course of my career. Because I remember even when you and I played together, I didn't really fight that much at that time. I was pretty young in my career, maybe the odd time, and then by the end of my career, that's pretty much all I did. So it was just something that you just.
Was there a coach, or was there a coach that kind of pulled you aside, or was it just you just kind of figuring it out that if I want to play in this league, this is how I have to play?
It's some of it's maturity, but I certainly told that. My first coach in the NHL was Pat Burns. Wow. And so I was fortunate enough to be on that team, and we're able to win that cup in 2003. And I remember Burnsy came up to me in the next year. So just think about it from this standpoint. And I was a kid that was a little hard-headed and wouldn't I wasn't arrogant, but I didn't really understand, and I was young, and I didn't understand that he was trying to help me, because it was like it was this tough love that I didn't really receive very well. And so, put it this way, like Game 7, it's like I'm on the team with Scott Niedermayer, with Scott Stevens, Marty Verdor, like Patty Elliott, Scott
here it
Gomez.
is.
I mean, there's you can go
Here
you
it
go
is,
on
buddy.
and on,
Look at
man.
this goal.
Oh, this one here, yeah, that's the one needs got that shot through, and yeah, I mean that was so. This is Game 7. Our line, myself, Jamie Langenbrunner, Jeff Friesen.
Wow.
That's the first goal of the game, just into the second period, and our line got the other 2 goals in the game too. So we won the game 3-0. Marty was incredible, obviously getting a shutout in Game 7, but our line had all three goals, and I had a goal and 2 assists in Game 7. So
No big deal.
life's good. We win the Stanley Cup that summer. I'm excited. I come back to training camp the next year, and I'm playing. And if you remember, Nasher, like that's when there were some crazy years. I feel like we played 8, 9, 10, sometimes preseason games. I played every single one. Pat Burns put me in every single game. And I remember, probably because I played every game and most of the other guys probably only played like 3. I was leading the team in points in preseason. So I think of it as a 23-year-old. Like I'm like, oh, this is right where I left off. This is great. I'm like a top 6 forward in the NHL. And I remember we were playing preseason game in Boston, and I was taping my stick out by the glass, and Pat Burns comes out, and he comes up to me and he says, how do you think you're playing in camp thus far? And I'm like, well, our line's doing pretty good, kind of picking up where we left. He cuts me off and he goes, I hate how you're playing. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, you know what? If that other team doesn't want to rip your head off every single night, I have no use for you. 0 use for you. You can't play for me. And I didn't understand. I'm like, what do you mean? Like I'm scoring. Like there was a he's like, look at you, how big you are. You have to drive people bananas, or you're not playing for me, and you'll be in the American Hockey League or whatever. So I heard that then. It didn't. I took some of it in. I caught up with Pat Burns. Unfortunately, he got sick and passed, God rest his soul. But I ran into him later on in my career, and we just kind of talked about this stuff. And he just wanted to pull this stuff out of me. And I was just a kid that, like, I kind of knew that, but I wasn't receiving it. I'm like, screw this guy. And I kind of was resistant to it. And I started learning that, yeah, he was bang on. So that's really what you just try to hang on and do anything you can to play and live your dream here. So I just started changing the way I played the game.
What's that old saying, Rupper? You come in as a crusher, you try to be a rusher, and soon enough you'll be an usher.
Yeah.
I think Joel Quinville said that to me one time. But yeah, I mean, you're right, I guess. And when you're 6'5", 240 plus pounds, I mean, you want to definitely use that to your advantage. But I heard another story about you playing in Danbury too, and I had no idea because we played together in Phoenix the year before the lockout, and then you went. I had no idea you went to Danbury in between, and then came back to Phoenix and played, I think, 5 or 6 games only, because we would have been unbelievable together. But that story about you, I mean, playing in Danbury, are you kidding me? What was that like?
So you know the storyline, like the Netflix documentary? Is that where you're?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So maybe the people that don't know, there's Netflix does these great, what is it called? Untold is their sports documentary line, and they have. There's been a ton. There's been like Malice at the Palace was the one that they had. What was that? That was the Pistons Pacers brawl. There's a million different ones, and this was like volume 1. They came out
edition.
with, and this was what's that?
Soprano edition.
Yeah, the Soprano edition. It was called Crime and Punishment, and it's a minor league hockey team in the United Hockey League that the owner had. The selling point on it was his mafia ties, and kind of used that to influence this hockey team and kind of take over the hockey world that they lived in. And yeah, so I didn't know that's what it was. We were in the same boat, Nasher, like where we have the lockout. At the time, I had my second child, and he had some health issues where I didn't feel like I can go to Europe and play. I needed to be somewhat near home. And so I just, as a 3-year-old, I simply just wasn't playing hockey. And once the season was canceled, I was kind of desperate to go somewhere. I couldn't go to the American League because you weren't allowed. I mean, you're not going to be cross the lines, I guess, and be a scab. So, yeah, so I get a phone call, and one of my buddies is like, hey, there's this guy who he's trying to win a championship in the United Hockey League. The kicker here is that he bought this team for his 18-year-old son to manage. His 18-year-old son's the general manager, and he wants to get some NHL talent in there. So there's a few guys that he brought in. I mean, long story short, it's like the movie, it's like Slapshot and The Sopranos meet each other. It's just absolute brawls every game. Pretty good team, actually. Could put the puck in the net, but he used intimidation as a huge factor. When I started realizing, I realized when he wanted to know how much money I wanted to be paid to come in and play, and I'm like, you're doing me a favor, because I was practicing at home with my old junior team, and I would fly in every other weekend and play some games. I only needed to play 10 to qualify for the playoff roster. And I'm like, you could talk to my agent and you'll deal with that part, as far as you just pay me whatever you want to pay me. And my agent gets back to me, he goes, where'd you find this guy? And I go, it was my buddy. And he goes, he wants to pay you in cash. And I'm like, what do you mean he wants to pay me in cash? He goes, no, like he wants to pay you like with a duffel bag of cash. I'm like, what?
You're like, perfect.
So, yeah, I'm like, oh, okay. So anyways, to finish the story, I'll spoil it a little bit, but yeah, I'm getting paid by by different trash disposal companies every 2 weeks, with different titles of the East Coast, like different trash industry names.
Hence the logo on the jersey.
Yeah, the best logo is one of the best jerseys going. The logo is, the mascot was Scrappy, and Scrappy in the documentary, the actual mascot was the guy who got basically wired, and how they took down the whole operation, the FBI. And it's through the mascot. Through the mascot was crooked. And the guy ends up, Jimmy Galante was his name. Great family, treat us like gold, man. I had nothing bad to say about them. And I've seen enough movies to know not to say anything bad about them. Yeah, he had to go away for a little while, and it was nuts. It was crazy. Check out the documentary.
Oh, I have to check that out. Weren't you saying somebody got knocked out on the ice, like crazy scraps, and instead of the beach ball that they toss around, they had like a filled body bag?
Yeah, they would. I remember in a game, a guy got knocked out, and there was a section of like, I don't remember what it was called. There was like a section of just like the crazies, the fans that were just passionate fans that they had, and they were tossing around a body bag in the. I'm like, this seems a little off. The guy's unconscious on the ice, but it was like a bloodthirsty crowd that was loving their fights, and they loved their Danbury trash. I'll tell you what, man, they built something special there. That was United Hockey League. Got a few thousand people in this building, and it was an experience. I had a blast playing there.
Oh, you had pretty good numbers too. How about John Cena? Do you ever remember him showing up at the barn any of the games?
So that was I wasn't there for that, because like I said, I only played the 10 games. But yeah, it was that's one thing I know, that the 18-year-old son AJ at the time, they had some connections with WWE, and he came and dropped a puck at the game, and yeah, it was a wild experience that you would never think is real, and it was, and they made a documentary about it.
I'm sure you got a brown bag full of cash as well. But Rupper, I know we were talking the other day at Coast to Coast up in New York about your time in Pittsburgh, and I was looking. You popped off. You finished, I think, with 13 goals that year. But my God, what went right for you in Pittsburgh? Because it seemed like everything was hitting the back of the net.
Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin help. So that was kind of one of the pitches to me, I guess, coming in there was I remember Ray Shero said to me as a free agent, here we go, a little pushing and shoving.
Yeah.
The Ray Shero says to me when I'm a free agent that the way we kind of run our lines, we kind of filter our three centers through the fourth line. So the three centers were Crosby, Malkin, and Jordan Staal. So basically, he was like, you're probably going to play, I don't know, anywhere from 4 to 6 minutes 5-on-5, but then you're probably going to get another 4 to 6 minutes with one of those guys. So I didn't really score that much up to that point in my career. So I'm like, hey, let's go. Like it was kind of close to home for me, and I got those opportunities. Now, again, that was one of those. You start getting a little bit of typecast because I only did certain things, but I still had that in me, and it's just about opportunity. So if I got a couple shifts with Sidney Crosby, you're damn right I'm going to shoot the puck and be ready to shoot the puck. So that's what happened. But it was funny though. I was like second on the team in goals right around this time of year, right around Christmas, and I think I had 12. And then I remember thinking, like, my agent was like, "Oh man, this is great. Like, you have to start really evaluating what things are going to be like moving forward, like if you're going to hit free agency again and all this." And I had one the whole second half of the year. So
You're like, I'm getting paid. Back up the bridge.
there's a
truck.
lesson here, kids. Don't you don't start counting until the dealing's done. That's for sure.
Rupper, I got to ask you, I mean, you've scored some big, and I mean big goals. You scored the cup clinching goal as a rookie, right? And then you go to the Winter Classic, you're down 2-0, and you bury 2. And I mean, this was something else. And talk about the salute, the whole thing. You had a scrap in this game. I mean, you were on fire, buddy. The bigger the stage, the better you played.
So, yeah, you know what? Just for a guy that was a role player, like, I have some of these moments where it was just like, I don't know, it feels like the stars aligned. I just always felt like when you're going into certain games, I would literally just, we have our pregame routines, and when I go to certain games, especially big games, I'm thinking to myself and telling myself, as far as game planning goes, nobody is thinking about me. And like it would basically just cut myself down to a level of being like, hey, you know what? No one's thinking about me. No one's thinking I'm going to be doing anything here. But like, little do they know, like, I'm ready to do something and pop off. And
Did you ever?
And I would like, I kind of like get myself. That's how I like psych myself up. And yeah, I mean, in that game, it was a big rivalry that we were battling with them all the time. And the funny thing is that. I didn't really expect too much. I just got an opportunity on the ice there. We go down 0-2 in the game, and we kind of needed a shift, and we had one, and I was able to bury one past Bobrovsky, and then we just kind of had that touch the rest of the game, and then just got it to be a tie game, and then Brad Richards he got the game winner, and then Henrik Lundqvist shut the door. So yeah, it was cool. Those are moments that you dream of, having a game outside like that in the Winter Classic, and just to be on that stage. Again, no one's thinking I'm going to do anything or our line's going to do anything, and that seems like the perfect spot for me.
Well, not only did you do something, but you gave it the salute afterwards. I absolutely loved it. I remember it like it was yesterday. I know there were some Philadelphia fans that certainly didn't, but I mean, that was classic.
Yeah, no one really liked that, because Yager was obviously on the other team, and that's his go-to. Listen, again, just that you're talking at that time, that was 2012. This is 9 years after Pat Burns had that conversation with me, and I learned over that time that pissing people off was a good thing for my career. So I'm preaching to the choir here, Nash. You did that on the regular from day one, buddy. But you know what I mean? You know what though, buddy? Like you sit there, you do what you have to do. You do what you have to do, and you know that, and you can probably write a book on it, as far as just being a lightning rod to your team is so important for your team, and it makes you so valuable, especially nowadays. Like when we're talking this league, that the way it is now, there's not many. So if you can sit there and you can be like, if you can take the focus off of like this is what I used to always think about when I was even say like who's one that I'd use an example of is let's go Boston Bruins. Like when Patrice Bergeron's there, I've never seen Patrice Bergeron get hit hard, ever. I've never seen him get laid out. I've never seen him kind of getting roughed up after whistles. I've never seen anybody fight him. And I guess my point in all this is he's a very smart player. He's respected, whatever, but you still want to win, and people try to throw off the other team by going after their stars. And the reason why I'm saying that is because Brad Marchand was on those teams. And they had other guys like that. They had the big bad Bruins. They were a nasty team. So what ends up happening is when you go into a game, we're game planning. All right, we got to watch this guy. We got to watch that guy. This is their power play. This line, they like to do this. Here's their tendencies. All that stuff goes out the window when you've got 63 Brad Marchand in your face chirping you every shift. Every time you go off the ice, whacking you in the back of the legs. Now all of a sudden guys are coming to the bench like, I'm going to kill that guy. And everybody's not thinking about what the objective was in the game to begin with. The Florida Panthers are a perfect example of this, where they just have so many that go out there and disrupt, and they're disruptors. So I thought that that's something that is really important in the game today still. And that's why I do the salute. It's why I acted like a fool half the time later on, just to try to, you just try to stir things up out there.
No, you certainly do, and you're great at it. I can tell you that. We got a fight. I think we're going to show maybe at our next commercial break. Paul Bissonnette. I mean, you literally fought everybody, and I respect the hell out of you for a guy that came in as a skill guy and learned to really kind of learn to fight like on the fly. I mean, it couldn't have been easy, and being 6'5", I mean, you're not 5'11" like I am. I fight the flyweights, right? You had to fight the heavyweights, and you did one hell of a job. But what was that like? Were you scared? I mean, does that get easier every night, just knowing that you're getting better every time you drop the gloves?
Yeah, I mean, I was so like the first thing is when people, and I got nothing but love when people come up like, oh, I loved when you played. You were one of my favorites. You were tough. You were this, like that always feels good. You never get old of hearing fans and people that watch you play the game. But I always try to say, like, listen, man, in the grand scheme of things, because sometimes people will be like, do you ever fight Bob Probert? I'm like, first off, I didn't play against Bob Probert. But secondly, are you out of your mind? No, I did not try. I would never fight Bob Probert. And I know that Nasher, like you played. You're not much older than I am, but I came in right at a time where that stuff was starting to change and shift, and there's still a lot of tough guys, but it wasn't like what it was.
Not even close.
Right, like, so I sit there and I say, no, I was not tough like those guys. I did what I had to do, but I was very calculated early on in my fighting, because I started doing it in a way where I'm like, all right, I already hit. I always hit. So I was like, I'm going to hit everything that moves, and I'm going to pick and choose my spots a little bit. And then once I started getting some fighting, I remember going into seasons saying, like, all right, I want to, this year, let's try to get like 8 to 10 fights. Just go 8 to 10 fights, and then I got that. Then I'm like, all right, now I want to go like 12 to 16 fights this next year. And then you start ramping up. But by fighting more, that's where you get more invitations to fight. So you got to start opening it up a little bit more. But I took some boxing in the off season, and man, I'll tell you what, as soon as I learned how to like properly grab jerseys and protect myself, I wasn't winning fights all that much, but I wasn't losing them, you know. So once I realized, like, hey, with my reach and with my grappling, I could not get hit. That's when I started like having some fun in these fights and can start taking the offensive a little bit more. So yeah, I mean, it was probably a work over like 3 years, and then I got to a point where, you know, I never would deem myself the toughest guy in the league by any stretch. I mean, Jody Shelley beat me up every single time I fought him.
Well, he was tough.
Yeah, I mean, with that, he's tough as nails. And but Shells, I played with him in Columbus. Great human being, great guy, great teammate. And there's just something about him. I just like that was a true tough guy. And so Yeah, but outside of like a Jody Shelley, I mean, I didn't feel like not many guys could beat me once I realized I wasn't going to get hit. So yeah, just a little progression along the way, and watching a lot of tape. As dumb as that sounds, I would log on hockeyfights.com every night before every game, and I'd watch every guy in their team's fights for the last couple of years.
Wow. Wow, that is great stuff. I know we were talking the other day, Rupper, and you were asking about Utah, and you were pretty excited about where this club's at and where they're going. But what are your thoughts on the Mammoth this year?
So I like what they're doing right now, and like full transparency, I've gone on an NHL Network. This would be, well, it's definitely year two of being pretty heavy on them making the playoffs. So I did it last year, and then you date it back to prior Mammoth, Utah Mammoth. I said it in the last year there too in Arizona. So I was like, I felt like it's been coming for a while, and the way that this season started, I was like, yes, here we go. And it's just like any team, you're gonna hit some adversity, and it's how you deal with it. And I didn't know what to make over the last few weeks. When you and I talked, they were kind of stumbling. So I'm like, man, is this going to be one of those long stretches that just continues to kind of elongate? And the next thing you know, they're kind of going to be chasing the rest of the year. And they've answered that. So they've got that pushback. So that's the big thing. As long as you got punchback, I think you got a chance. So yeah, I like them. I think they got a ton of skill. They're obviously missing Cools, but they've got players. The one thing I wish I'd like some of their bigger guys on their team. I think if they had played a little bigger, I think it would help some of the skilled guys on their team. Maybe some of those things that we talked about earlier. That's an area that I think they have some players on roster, but just a little more meanness, I think, would help them and go a long way. But I like this hockey club. I like this squad, and I hope this is for real what they're doing right now.
Well, they need a Mike Rupp on their team. That's what they knew. That's what they need. If you're watching a game, who do you get excited about watching in the National Hockey League right now? I mean, I know for me, I grew up in Edmonton. I'd love to see McDavid and Draisaitl win one. I know they pulled the trigger the other day on Jari for Skinner. But who do you love to watch if you're watching a game?
Oh, man. I mean, the obvious ones you just mentioned, they're great. Cale Makar's ridiculous, how fun he is to watch. Yeah, just, I don't know. I mean, team-wise, when they're fully healthy, and I honestly, this Florida Panther team over the last number of years, this has been probably one of my favorite teams to watch in my lifetime as far as watching hockey. And I just love that they're like a throwback. They're this old school team. Maybe I love what they do because they've got a little bit of that old schoolness in them. But it's super fun to see kind of what they do to other teams, and they do everything against the grain. They're just a pain in the butt to play against. But I don't know. It's something with them that is just very unique. But as far as individuals, yeah, I mean, the obvious ones, Connor McDavid's absolutely ridiculous. And Nathan McKinnon, you can't go wrong there. I love watching Macklin Celebrini. He's the new one for me.
Yeah. Rupper, if there's one guy you could fight again, you got one last fight in you, who do you want to fight?
One last fight in me. Oh.
Who do you just want to pound the wheels off of?
You know what? I'll say this one because I can never get him. And I thought that I was tougher than him, but then every time I fought him, I didn't have my way. And then I'd fight him again, I'll get him this time, and then I wouldn't again. Ben Eager. Ben Eager was one. He's so strong, man. And I'd get in those fights. He was tough too. I'm not trying to make it sound like he was not. He was tough, but I was like, man, I know I'm tougher than this guy. I just couldn't get him every single time. It just didn't feel great.
Rupper, we got one last one here for you. That was an unbelievable game, by the way. I appreciate you hanging with us. I know you're on the East Coast. That's a big win for the Devils. But we got a Paul Bissonnette fight I wanted to show you. We were on the call, me and Matt McConnell, my old partner, but just walk us through this one. I mean, Paul Bissonnette, who knew he was going to be the Howard Stern of hockey?
Right?
To this team. And now he has got the touch. And what do we got here? A little scrap between Paul Bissonnette and Rupp.
Listen, Nasher on the call.
Paul Bissonnette dropping the gloves with Mike Rupp. Well-traveled Mike Rupp.
Are mics open on this one or no?
With a big reach. Bissonnette's got him right where he wants him, right in the center of that jersey, with those little noogie punches right on the chin. That's more distracting than anything.
Ooh. Caught him there.
Got him with two.
Oh.
And so they separate. Wild wanted a little more grit in terms of a bigger grit guy than
Oh, you
Darryl.
cut him good, Rupper. You cut him good. We're going to show it again in slow motion, but walk us through this one, buddy. It was like you were setting him up for that big bomb.
Yeah. Well, first off, I didn't want to fight him because I knew Biz a little bit. I got to Pittsburgh, he was there, and he's such a nice dude, and I didn't do well with that type of stuff, guys. Like he'd have to like really do something to my teammate to set me off, and he came after me and he was like, "Let's go," and I didn't really want to, and then we started going. He's giving me those jersey jabs, and yeah, that was one of the moves I used later in my career. I started realizing that because I had the reach on a lot of guys used timing with me. So when I would throw a punch, they would turn their head a little bit, and they would, if I'm hitting them, I'm hitting the back of their helmet. So I was like, I started doing this a lot towards the end of my career where I'm like, all right, if I throw a token uppercut, I'm not even trying to hit you with a punch. I'm just trying to make you feel me throwing a punch as far as my motion. And that's going to time you to come throw your punch. And then once I come for the uppercut, I just in one motion bring it back and then come forward. So that one luckily connected with Biz. But yeah, I didn't. Biz was tough. I told him this story real quick. I'll tell you this one. Biz was in Pittsburgh. I was in New Jersey. And our strength coach loved NHL fights. He'd watch all these fights every night, and he'd become talking to some of us on the team that fought. And he's like, he talked about Biz like he's the boogeyman. Like he would sit there like, he'd be like, you see that Bissonnette in Pittsburgh? Oh, this guy's killing everybody. This guy, this guy. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I don't know anything about this guy, but he sounds like an absolute assassin. Like who is this guy? So then I met him, and I'm like, oh, this guy's nice as can be. And he went on, and Biz has done. He did an incredible job of staying in the NHL, but also what he's doing right now in hockey. So it's I don't know. There's just a lucky one that I connected on with a move I was experimenting with.
Oh, did you ever? He's still getting zipped up, I think. Rupper, I love what you do. Love your analysts. Love working with you, buddy. I love playing with you. We would have had a ton of fun if we would have stuck together. I would have got you in a lot of fights. I can promise you that. But I appreciate your time, buddy. Thanks for coming on the show. And enjoy your night, what's left of it.
All right, buddy. Take care, bud. We'll talk.
See you, my man.
Well, folks, there you have it. Another unbelievable interview, another great guest. Thank you for your time, Michael Rupp. This is a guy that I played with, and I'll tell you what, I didn't play with him long in Arizona, but he was a monster of a man. It was early in his career, and I admire the hell out of him just because this was a guy that, like all of us, had to put up numbers. He did it through junior, but the National Hockey League's a different animal. You have to find your niche. And this is a guy who's like 6'5", 6'6". He's a monster of a man. He didn't fight a lot growing up, but he certainly learned how to fight at the National Hockey League level. And he fought every heavyweight there was. He was scared of absolutely no one. But I take my hat off to him because he learned how to fight later in life, later in his career. And it probably prolonged his career by about 6 or 7 years because he could kill penalties. He could score the odd goal, which he talked about in the Winter Classic. He was the big story, right? I think they won 3-2. It was the Rangers versus the Flyers. I think it was 3-2. He had 2 of the 3 goals in that game. He gave the Jágr salute. It caused a massive uproar around the National Hockey League. But he was also a guy that when you sit with him and you talk with him, he's just so quiet. He's a historian as far as the history goes in the National Hockey League, but you wouldn't think that he would be a guy that would go out there and do that, but he did. he had a lot of controversial moments in his career, and he fed off of it. And I admire the hell out of Mike Rupp. Fultz, you've never sounded better. I think you're on mute right now. You've never sounded better.
Holy.
Hey, well, let's not edit that out. Adam, if you're watching, this guy's supposed to be a professional. Like,
what I said was really profound, but now I'll take it a different way. I was trying to thank Mike Rupp, but also wanted to shout out your Altcast coming up on Monday and Wednesday, Tyson. You're going to be back in Salt Lake City for the alternate cast coming up on the 2nd and the 4th of February. So the last 2 games before the Olympic break, you're going to be in town with some awesome guests.
Yeah, if you enjoyed Mike Rupp, you guys are watching this, it's only getting better, right? Because we're live streaming the game. You can watch the Utah Mammoth play February 2nd, February 4th. I got Matthew Barnaby coming into the house. No one is more excited than Barnaby coming into Salt Lake, Utah. So I hope you guys are ready. I hope everyone in Utah is ready for this guy, the man they call Bam Bam, because he's going to be my co-host. we have Kerry Fraser, one of the best storytellers. No one in the history of the game has reffed more games in the National Hockey League. He's got a book out. He's an author. I made the book. Myself and Theo Fleury. The story is absolutely epic. I'm certainly not proud of it. I learned from it, and Kerry Fraser was kind of a dad moment for me because he absolutely gave it to me like my dad would have when I was a young 8-year-old kid. I got an absolute tongue lashing from Kerry Fraser. He's coming on the show. Brent Myers, the only player ever to have a lifetime ban from the National Hockey League. The guy was one of the toughest menaces in league history on and off the ice. He talks about it. It's an incredible journey. I'm so glad that Brent Myers is still with us here today because it could have taken a real tough turn for him with his alcoholism, substance abuse. He fought it. He beat it. And I think he's been 18 or 19 years sober to this point. So an incredible story from him. And my good buddy, Russ Courtnall, a guy that I idolized growing up. He was from Victoria in Canada. Him and his brother. I played with Jeff, his brother, who is, I think, 3 years younger. So an incredible story for him. He was part of the Hound line with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Gary Leeman, Russ Courtnall, and my favorite of all time, besides Wayne Gretzky, Wendell Clark. So the stories are going to be fantastic, and I cannot wait for everyone to hear them.
I can't wait for those 2 games. You have a great record, by the way. I think you're like 3 or 4-1 or something like that in these Nashcast games this year.
We don't mess around, Fultz. We bring it. We bring it. Although maybe it's a bad time to come in right now because the team's on an absolute tear. I think you touched on it earlier. A franchise record right now for the Utah Mammoth. So I just want to come in, mind my own business, and just stay out of the way. I'll just keep my big nose to myself. We'll be in the Delta studio. We're kind of like zoo animals up there when you guys are watching the game. If you're at the Delta Center, where most of our fans are clearly watching the game because we do all the games for our home games. So take a peek. Come take a peek in the Delta Studios. You'll see myself, Matthew Barnaby. Tusky comes in every once in a while to surprise us, and the stories will be flying.
Can't wait, Nasher. Well, another fun week, everybody. A reminder to follow along at Nashcast Official on Instagram and on YouTube as well. Remember to subscribe, and don't be afraid to leave a comment, a question, and a 5-star rating. And always, as always, tip your podcasters. Just kidding, we get paid. Don't tip us. But Nasher, appreciate you, man. Appreciate everybody listening, and we'll talk again next week.
Sounds good, buddy. Keep this thing rolling, buddy. Looking good, folks. He's single.